Hi, what's up, guys? Hope all of you are very safe and healthy. And very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone from whichever location you're watching this video. Okay, and today's topic, in continuation to my video series, Introduction to AWS Services, Major AWS Services. And today's topic is Route 53. Okay, so Route 53 is also another very important and very significant AWS service. Okay, that too plays a very significant role in application architecture. Okay, and so let us understand this. It is very interesting topic. So Amazon Route 53 is a highly available and scalable cloud domain naming systems DNS service. Okay, so it is a DNS as a service from AWS. Okay, it's domain registration, domain management. Okay, and the routing, traffic routing, all those steps can be managed by Route 53. Okay. So the primary functionality of Route 53 is if you have to register any domain, okay, like we register for any domain registration, we go to GoDaddy itself. Okay, GoDaddy, or there are other registrars also. Okay. So AWS also provides the domain registration, okay, and domain management, like mapping the domain to the server, okay, and mapping the domain records, okay, all those steps can be done within the AWS also. Okay, so the particular service which provides all these steps, that is Route 53. Okay, so Route 53 that resolves the domain name to the IP address of the hosted application on EC2 instance or virtual machine or any other AWS resource which has an IP address. Okay, it means like domain is domain name. Like let us take an example that www.flipkart.com, that is a domain name, right? But when we type this domain, we hit this domain on the browser. Okay, the domain needs to be resolved to the IP address of the resource where the web application, the shopping portal of the Flipkart has been hosted on the server. Okay, so DNS service, what is the role of DNS service? So DNS service finds the respective IP address of the server where the flipkart.com, the application, web application, or the shopping portal of the flipkart.com has been hosted on the server. Okay, and in case there may be multiple servers serving behind the infrastructure of Flipkart, okay, on the cloud. So in that case, there will be load balancer. Balancer has been configured that was managing the traffic parallelly to across multiple servers. Okay, so in that case, there must be an IP of the load balancer which is in front of all the servers. Okay, and in that case, the DNS, whatever the DNS service will do, will resolve the domain name, that is flipkart.com, to the IP address of the load balancer that is sitting in front of all the servers. Okay, where the applications of flipkart.com has been hosted. Okay, so that is the primary responsibility and the functionality of Route 53. Okay, that is the domain name, human readable domain name resolution to the respective IP address of the resource or the server where the application has been hosted. Okay, apart from that, so what AWS is like, if you have hosted your application or the website or the portal on AWS, okay, on EC2 instance, or any in case of serverless applications, you might be using AWS S3 or AWS Lambda or any other resources on AWS. Okay, and any resource which has an IP, okay, that IP address, that particular resource can be connected, can be resolved to your domain name. Okay, if it is having an IP address, a public facing IP address. Okay, so what AWS says, like if you have purchased your domain from some other vendors, that also can be configured in AWS in Route 53 in order to resolve that domain to the IP address of the resource which is hosted on AWS. Okay, or if you want to, if you don't have the, don't have any existing domain name, then you can register the domain name itself from AWS in Route 53 service. Okay, so on the Route 53, it provides the domain registration and a domain mapping to the respective IP address of the resource. And apart from that, it Route 53 manages different kind of traffic routing. Okay, traffic routing and some sort of load balancing features also has available with Route 53 itself. Okay, we will understand in coming slides all those features one by one. Okay, so that is let us understand for now in simple way, like Route 53 is a domain DNS service. Okay, that resolves the human readable, user friendly domain name. Okay, to the IP address, public facing IP address of the resource or the web server which has been configured in order to for the hosted application, hosted web server or web portal. Okay, so let us understand this way. Just I have drawn this image. Okay, let us understand this. This is this bigger square box. Let us consider it a virtual private network, the VPC, which is there in the AWS. Within that, if I have configured two subnets, the private subnet and public subnet, okay. In the private subnet, I have created a DBC EC2 instance, okay. Within that, I have hosted our database server, okay. And in the public subnet, if I have hosted another EC2 instance that is consisting our web application, okay. Why we got this? Like in the public subnet, there is a web server. In the database is residing in the private subnet. This is because the database should be secured. Okay, it should not connect directly. Okay, it should be always reachable by the web server from the public subnet itself. Okay, just for the security purpose. Okay, we are keeping the database server as private. Okay. Okay, so once we hosted our application on the public subnet, we will have a public IP address, okay, on the EC2 instance, and the application is hosted on port 80. So let us take an example. Hypothetically, this is the IP address of the web server, 233.181.281.99. Okay, and if in this example, I have displayed one EC2 instance. If there are multiple EC2 instances, okay. And then in case that we will be placing a load balancer also, that is elastic load balancer, that was managing the traffic to different EC2 instances. Okay, and in front of the ALB, the Route 53 resides. Okay, Route 53, that the domain management service. Okay, and then after internet gateway. And from the internet gateway, the user interacts from outside world. Okay, the request goes through the internet gateway to the Route 53. Okay, then Route 53, what does it sends the for the IP resolution. Okay, because the user hitting on the browser with a domain name like www.example.com or whatever domain name. Okay, so Route 53 will receive the request, okay, the domain name itself, and then it will move to the DNS servers. Okay, there are different kind of DNS servers around the world. Okay, different. There are segregations also that various the root DNS server that will be there first, and from the root DNS servers, it will iterate to the respective DNS servers to find the respective IP address of the domain name. Okay, there must be some sub DNS server itself. Okay, where the record of the domain name will reside in their record. Okay, so from the DNS servers, it will find the IP address of the particular domain, and that will be returned to the Route 53. Then Route 53 will come to know like what is the IP address of the resource of the domain which is being requested. Okay, so this will be the IP address of our server from where the EC2 machine of the on AWS instance, and where our application of the web portal has been hosted. Okay, so in that after that it will just move the request to the load balancer. Okay, so in this case it will not be the IP of this EC2 machine itself. It will be the IP of the load balancer. Okay, the Route 53 they will directly hit the if there is a load balancer configured, then IP of the load balancer will be returned to the Route 53. If there is no load balancer, okay, we are receiving the traffic directly on the EC2 machine to our application. In that case, the IP address of the web server will be returned to Route 53 from the name servers itself. Okay, there will be two cases. Okay, if load balancer is configured, then name server will return the IP address of the load balancer. If load balancer is not configured, then the name server will return the IP address of the EC2 machine directly. Okay, so that depends upon the architecture. If for the purpose of load balancing, if we have configured the load balancer, then it will go. It will get the IP of the load balancer. Otherwise, it will resolve directly to the IP address of the web server machine itself. Okay, and then request will be served to the user. Okay, so what is the name servers? Like there are a lot of multiple domains are there, right? Okay, different millions of domains are there. Okay, so they name server are authorities. Okay, who maintains the records of the domain, like which domain is mapped to the which IP. Okay, so that is the functionality of the name servers. Okay, so when any user around the world requests any domain or hit any domain on the browser, okay, then it first goes to the root DNS server, root name server itself, okay, and request that give me the IP address of this domain, what I am browsing, okay, like if I am browsing Flipkart.com, okay, then in this case, in the context of Route 53, okay, what Route 53? Route 53 sends the request to the name server, root name server, okay, and ask for the IP address of the requested domain, that is in my case Flipkart.com, okay. Then what root server doesn't contain all the records itself, okay, so there are sub name servers also, child name servers you can consider. So let us move to the next slide. Okay, yeah, so Route 53 finds the IP address of requested domain by editing to the root name server to the exact name server which contains the record of the requested domain. Okay, so let us understand this way, like Route 53 requested the IP address of a particular domain, the request goes to the root domain. Okay, what root domain says, like oh, you are requesting any .com domain, right? So I don't have that, but I can tell you the particular name server, okay, which contains the all .com domain records. Okay, so the root domain root name server will route the request to .com name server itself. Okay, and .com name server contains the all .com all the records of the .com domain. Okay, if it is requested for any .net domain, then it will route the request to the .net name servers itself. Okay, and then again it will go to the lower name server itself, sub child name servers, and it will find the exact record where the record of the particular that particular domain is available. Okay, and that IP address will be returned back to the Route 53. Okay, sorry. After that, Route 53 will be able to get the IP address of the particular domain, and then it will reach to the particular resource on the AWS cloud, whether it is the application load balancer or the particular EC2 instance or the virtual machine where the application or the web portal has been hosted, and we will be able to see our websites or the portal on the browser. Okay, so that is the flow. Okay, how Route 53 finds the exact IP address of the resource which has been requested. Okay, so this was one of the primary responsibility of Route 53, that resolving the domain name to the IP address. Okay, where the IP address of the resource where that particular website or the portal or the application is being hosted. Okay. Apart from that, Route 53, yeah, we can see this image also where users are hitting the making the request to the domain. Okay, it is going to Route 53. Then Route 53 redirecting the request to the respective EC2 machine itself. Okay. Yeah. So these are the features of Route 53, like primarily the domain registration, domain to IP resolver, as we discussed, like it resolves the user-friendly domain name to the respective IP of the web server. Traffic flow, it manages the traffic also, like different kind of traffic management rules are there that we will see in coming slides. Okay, that also happens with the help of Route 53. Different kind of routing. Okay, traffic routing. Okay, let's say on a particular website, there is every day there are millions of traffic coming. Okay, in the popular website like Flipkart.com. Okay, huge traffic are coming every day. Okay, and in the behind the Flipkart infrastructure side, Flipkart has configured multiple servers. Okay, in order to serve those billions of records. Okay, and that too across the multiple region, multiple geographical locations. Okay, and so in that case, what Route 53 does, Route 53 can manage the traffic, like it manages the traffic region wise. Okay, if the users are from a particular region from US, okay, or from Germany, okay, then it will specifically route the request to the server which is residing on the Germany or which is residing on the US. Okay, so that is called the geo specific routing, and there's some latency based routing, right? It will automatically identify and routes the traffic to the server which is very nearest to the requested user. Okay, that is also called latency based routing. And there's some private DNS to Amazon VPC also. This is the, let's say there's a we were discussing, like if any resource hosted on AWS cloud, okay, and if that is having a public IP, okay, that and in that case that resource is available and accessible through the cloud, okay, outside the world. Okay, but if it is having a private IP, okay, it is not exposed to the outside world. In that case, that resource is private. Okay, so we have the feature of private DNS. Okay, private DNS management also with Route 53. Like in your local, in your premise itself, if you have a private EC2 instance or private web server, okay, and you want that you want to give a friendly name to the IP address of the website or the portal which you have hosted in your private network only. It is not accessible outside. Okay, like your organization, something like your organization dot local. Okay, so local infrastructure and local applications have been hosted on the private network and they are having the private IP. Okay, so Route 53 also manages the and resolve the private domain name, okay, to the private IP address itself. Okay, that also we can do with the uh, private subnet itself in the VP Route 53. It also manages the DNS failover, okay, health checks and monitoring resources. Like yeah, so we were discussing like in order to maintain and manage the traffic, okay, there are load balancers itself, okay, and Route 53 also checks the resource health. Okay, let's say for a website there are more than one server has been hosted in the background. Okay, and if in case any of the server goes down, okay, in case of power failure or any or the planned or unplanned maintenance, okay, in that case Route 53 consistently checks the health check activity, and it will, in that case, it will not route the traffic to the unhealthy resource, and it will route the traffic to all the traffic to the healthy resources only. Okay, and once that unhealthy resource, unhealthy VM or the C2 instance comes back healthy, then it will again start routing the traffic to that resource itself. Okay, so continuous health checks, and the traffic management also is managed by Route 53 itself. And yeah, so there is another feature, CloudFront and S3 Zone Apex support for mapping DNS with a static web content hosted on S3. This is like on AWS, there are many such services which is not having an IP address. Okay, like S3. Okay, that doesn't have an IP address. If you have hosted any static web content on S3, in that case, how Route 53 will connect to that particular resource, because it doesn't have the IP address. Okay, so S3 Zone Apex support is the feature that mapping the DNS to that resource which doesn't have the IP address itself. Okay, so this is the one another feature of Route 53. It can also manage and connect to the services on AWS which doesn't have any IP address. Okay, ELB integration, like if as we discussed, like if there are multiple EC2 instances, so multiple virtual machine has been hosted for the managing of traffic. Okay, and elastic load balancer has been configured in front of the resources. Then Route 53 can also be integrated with the ALB, elastic load balancer itself. Okay, so these were the features, okay, of the Route 53 itself. And yeah, so these are the routing policies. Okay, very important topic is this. Route 53 provides this many type of traffic routing itself. Okay, the first one is simple routing, suitable for scenarios where the domain is connected or should be routed to any single AWS resource, like EC2 instance, load balancer IP, or any other resource IP, where a single resource is serving entire traffic. Okay, let's say you have a very small website, you have configured EC2 instance on AWS, okay, and you have hosted your application, okay, and you will get the IP address of the EC2 instance, and and your application is hosted on port 80. With a simple routing, you can route all the traffic to that particular EC2 instance, because there is more than one. There is no more than one virtual machine. There is a single virtual machine. Okay, so a simple routing comes in picture. Okay, then after weighted routing. So weighted routing, what is that? Suitable for the scenario where a single domain is connected with more than one resource in the background, and we can configure that how much traffic should be routed to which resource. Okay, it is useful when the traffic needs to be load balanced with the multiple resources in the background. Also useful for beta testing or version-wise feature testing of application with weighted traffic. Okay, yeah. So let me explain it very clearly. Like you are planning a big portal, okay, and you are planning to host that on AWS, and for that you have configured 3 or 4 or multiple EC2 instance, okay, in all the EC2 instance or the virtual machines, you have hosted the same application, same website, okay, and you want the traffic, okay, let's say, let us understand there you have configured 4 EC2 instance, okay, and you want to route the traffic on weight basis, like you want 50% traffic to be routed on first 2 EC2 instance, and another 50% traffic to another remaining 2 EC2 instances itself. Okay, so that kind of traffic routing policies can be set with the weighted routing here. Okay, also if you are launching any new feature in your application, okay, and you are not sure whether that new feature what we are releasing will be worth or not, so you want to do a beta testing. Okay, so what you can do, like out of 4 servers, in one server you have hosted the application with the new feature, okay, the new version of the application you have hosted, and you have configured the beta routing policy in such a way, like out of 100%, 10% traffic will be routed to that particular instance where you have posted the newer version of the application. Okay, and you can get the feedback of the users. Okay, like whether the application is working fine, okay, or on that basis you can make the improvements to the application. And once it satisfy all the needs, all the requirements, okay, you can parallelly divide the traffic. Okay, so that is also can be handled with the weighted routing policy itself. Okay, and also for the load balancing purpose, like you want 30%, 70% traffic to be divided, 50% to 50% division. Okay, all those things can be done with the weighted routing policy itself. Latency based routing routes the traffic to the AWS region that provides the possible low latency to the user. Okay, let us understand. Yeah, in the same example that we given .flipkart.com, it has multiple servers across the world. Okay, in different zone, different region itself. Okay, so with the latency routing, what happens? Like if the user requests from India, okay, the request will be automatically routed to the server which is hosted in India itself. Okay, if some user is requesting from the US, okay, the request will automatically that request will not be routed to the server based in India. That will be that request will be routed to the server which is based in US itself. Okay, so that Route 53 decides on its own, like which server it should redirect the traffic to. Okay, so that is called the latency based routing, and it also helps the application performance and user latency, user satisfaction itself. Next one is the failover routing. Failover routing is that, as we discussed also in the previous slide, like Route 53 consistently checks the resources health. Okay, like if there are four EC2 instance has been configured, okay, and which resource is healthy, which instance is healthy, which is not healthy. Okay, if in case it is one of the resources unhealthy, okay, we can configure that. In case of that, move all the traffic to the healthy resources. Okay, and it will avoid routing the traffic to the unhealthy resource. And when that healthy EC2 instance or the virtual machine will comes back healthy, then it will start routing the traffic to the healthy resource itself. Okay, so that is called the failover routing. Next one is geolocation routing. Redirects traffic based on the location of the user customer. This can be used to localize content or implement geo restrictions. That is again the geographical routing, as we discussed. Like if we are residing in India, okay, in the particular in this case, we can define the geographical locations, okay, and all the traffics will be routed to those particular the servers within that geographical locations itself. Okay, so it is also useful for the user satisfaction and the user experience. It will increase and the application performance will be also good. So these were the routing policies that is available with Route 53. So we can see that if we are not using the load balancer, okay, if we have multiple EC2 instances and I have hosted the EC2 instances on different geographical locations itself, or even not in different geographical locations, in single locations also, in single region also we have hosted multiple EC2 instances. Okay, load balancer is also balancing the traffic. Okay, but with the help of Route 53, that is also we can divide the traffic accordingly as per the need. Okay, as per the different routing policies. Okay, so yeah, so that was all about Route 53. Okay, in summary, we came to know like Route 53 is the domain management service, DNS service itself from AWS. Okay, and we studied how we got it, how it works. Okay, where Route 53 stands, and what are the what Route 53 resolves the IP address of the domain, and what are the various routing policies and the traffic management policies itself with the Route 53. Okay, that is it for this video as of now. Okay, thank you very much for watching my video. And guys, if you one request, if you like the video is very informative, okay, and useful for you, Please like the videos and subscribe to my channel. Okay, so that it also encourages us to create more and more videos like this, more interesting videos. Okay, and also you will be automatically notified for any new videos we will upload on the channel. Okay, and you will be always updated. Thank you very much for now. Thanks.